Okay, let us start. Welcome to the inaugural workshop
Thank you.
on teaching with technology. 3 people showed up, so I think it's a pretty good outcome, I guess. Maybe more people will show up later. These will be happening every Thursday from 2:30 until 3:30, and the theme for the semester is multi-literacies. Today's workshop will kind of sort of touch on the theme, but as we move through the semester, hopefully the theme will become more and more apparent. These workshops, unlike in previous semesters, this semester will be supplemented by a theory series, brown bags, which will be focusing on multi-literacies, but from a theoretical standpoint. So over the summer, we decided that it is good and desirable to offer workshops in technology where we present different solutions, different platforms, different tools that could be easily implemented in the classroom. But this should be helped by the discussion in applied pedagogy, applied linguistics, so that we also know why we're doing what we're doing. We're kind of all familiar with also what is happening in the field. So those theoretical workshops will be taking place not each Monday, but every other Monday, starting in 2 weeks, at 2:30 until 3:30 p.m. downstairs in 255.
So it's on a different.
They'll be different.
Monday, 2:30.
It is a time when not a lot of instructors are teaching, according to my research. So if you can come, if not, not. And then also, in addition to that, we're going to try to structure the series of invited guest speakers, which takes place not each Friday, but on Fridays usually from 3 to 5 p.m., to also reflect and echo the topic of multi-literacies. Okay, so this will be the theme. This is the first time that we have such a comprehensive system of events. We'll see how it goes. Okay, if you haven't signed in, do sign in. If you have, that's great. Get some coffee. Awesome. So introductions. All of you know me. Some of you, I was really hoping that there would be more people today, but I will, since we are talking about introductions today, we'll start by introducing myself. And my name is, of course, Szymon Zuberek. I work here at the Language Resource Center as an educational technologist. My background is in Germanic studies and applied linguistics. Before coming to Columbia, I taught college level German, Polish, and ESL. And then, for an icebreaker, I came up with 2 truths and a lie. And I wanted you to, and some of you might know this, some might not. One of these is a lie. It's evidently false. Which one is it? Do I know a lot of Disney songs by heart? Have I ridden across America on a bicycle? Or do I like mint chocolate?
I'm sure you know a lot of Disney songs by heart. That's right.
How is it obvious?
Oh, it's just so obvious. And then you would be the person who actually would go by bike across America, and you probably like chocolate but not mint chocolate. I think that's a lie.
Okay, anyone else?
I agree, I think it's a lie that you like mint chocolate.
Alessandra?
I think this I rode across America on a bike is true.
It's true or not true?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, yes, it's. So I you like mint chocolate.
Okay.
It's a lie. You know a lot of Disney songs that by heart is a lie.
That is actually true. I do know a lot of lyrics to a lot of Disney songs. I do not like mint chocolate, so that is a false. But it is obviously a very simple icebreaker that I was hoping to replicate with the people here today. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, if you have your index cards, I would like you to write down 2 truths and a lie. And what we will do is do a simple introduction game with it. Okay, so take a minute or two, get creative, or not. And this, of course, is a pretty standard, pretty cliche, pretty intuitive icebreaker. This could be replaced with anything else, and of course it will depend on the proficiency level of your students, what you're teaching, and also the language. But because of where we are and because of the setting, we will start with this and then take it as a point of departure for a follow-up. Okay, so now we've got four. Now that I have your contributions in the bag, I'm going to choose one. Okay, and the facts are following. I ran NYC Marathon. I know ancient Greek. I'm an expert sushi maker. Okay, I think, judging by the people who are here, and of course we can pretend that I don't know it, it's the first day of class, but I do think that I know ancient Greek is false. Whose facts were these? Did I get it right? No. Okay, so now that we know who wrote them, we're going to use this as a point of departure for you to introduce yourself. Tell us which is true, which is not true, what you do.
So, it's true that I ran the New York City Marathon 3 years ago.
That's great.
I ran, so I ran very slowly, but I ran the New York City
The whole
Marathon.
That's amazing.
And so I know ancient Greek because I have a classics background, so I know ancient Greek, Latin, and I'm an expert sushi maker. It's false because I like sushi, but so I've never been able to choose to pick the right fish and to make rolls.
Good one.
So it's
To know sushi.
indeed no sushi.
Okay, well this.
I'm inside the department, so I do want to introduce other things later. No?
Well, no, so now that you've introduced yourself, you get to draw another card and repeat the procedure.
Okay, and I have to see what is.
So you have to say then which one you think is not true, and then whoever wrote these down.
Okay. I like talking to myself in different languages. I'm afraid of flying, and I speak Hungarian.
I know the anyway.
I think I'm afraid of flying. It's false.
It's correct. It's a lie.
It's a lie.
Yeah.
So you are, so you can speak it Hungarian.
Okay, well, then we'll use this to dispel the myth and for an introduction purposes.
Actually, it was a very difficult exercise for me because I'm bad in coming up with any kind of things within 2 to 3 minutes. I know they do this in the US all the time. In Europe, we don't do this at all. I wasn't trained to think that fast. But yeah, I like talking to myself in different languages. I think this is why I encourage my students to read aloud all the time and to not to be afraid of passing for a freak by relatives, in the eyes of their relatives or roommates. We need to hear different languages and practice the phonetic apparatus. I'm not afraid of flying because otherwise I wouldn't have moved here. And I do speak Hungarian because my great-grandfather was born in northern Serbia and he spoke both languages, and this is how I grew fascinated with the legacy of Austria-Hungary.
And then your name?
And my name is Alex. Yeah, Beckhoff.
And then you, Alex, this semester you are here with us teaching
Elementary BCS.
Elementary BCS.
Oh, really?
Okay, you draw the next one.
Hungarian is very difficult.
Okay, I have 4 tattoos. I have a tongue piercing. I jumped out of an
You have a
airplane.
tongue piercing.
I don't know, I believe
What was the third one?
I jumped out of an airplane.
Ah,
I think this is false. This is a lie.
Is it?
I bet it's true.
It is true. I jumped out of an airplane.
Okay.
So what do I do again?
So you did jump out of the airplane, so which one is false?
I do have for tattoos. I don't have any tongue piercing. I wrote that because I was inspired by your piercings. I don't know what to lie, so I'm going to look at your piercing. And then yes, I did. I jumped out of an airplane with a person tied behind my back. It's a tandem parachute skydiving. Yes.
Wow.
And then a few words about yourself then. So who you are, what your
My name is
is.
Daru, and I teach Bahasa Indonesia here. Yes.
Okay, and the last but not least,
Me.
Me.
I love sunny weather. I don't like hostess.
Hostas.
I don't know.
It's a plant.
Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't think of something else that I did.
I like sleeping in a tent on vacation. Which one is full? Well, actually, you should probably do it.
Oh, hostess. I thought hostess.
Hostas.
You know what she's talking about?
No.
No.
Ah,
It was a plant, right?
right.
I heard something else.
Yeah.
I love sunny weather.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
like hostess. I was sleeping
And
in a
hostas.
tent.
I did.
Vacations. The lie is probably sleeping in a tent.
No, I like sleeping in a tent.
Okay.
So I like sleeping in a tent.
Uh-huh.
On vacation, I do that a lot. I don't like, it's not hostas, it's hostas, but I wanted to say a dislike, and I couldn't think of something so quickly, you know, of what I
Yeah.
disliked, but I don't like hostas, it's a boring plant. And so that's true, I don't like hostas. And true, it's I like swimming. I don't like sunny weather, I like overcast and
So
gloomy.
you-
This is your weather.
So,
The last-
yeah, so I suffer in the summer, it's just this sun every day, it's just too much for me.
Too much sun.
I need dark therapy in the summer. So that's a lie.
And a few words about yourself then.
So, yeah, my name is Wijnie, I teach Dutch here, and I am from Amsterdam originally.
So you're there in charge of a massively popular, less commonly taught language program with multiple wait lists and over 80 students.
Right,
currently
yes,
enrolled.
yes, no, I do have a lot of first elementary students, yes. Growing list, yes.
Alright, so this was an example of an icebreaker activity, and of course you can definitely use it in your own classes. I thought it would be very fitting to start with it because it is the first of time. It is an icebreaker. I was hoping there would be more people attending, but that is okay. I think you guys do have an idea of what we just did. But the question is actually, what did we just do? Of course, it was an icebreaker, but I encourage you to switch into the pedagogical mode, into the didactic mode, and think about what just happened for you as hypothetical students in class, but also for me as an instructor. Okay, and to help you express these ideas on your mobile devices and or your computers, go to this subpage, menti.com. And when prompted for the code, enter 359878. You can do it on your computers, you can do it on your phones, mobile devices, smartwatches, you have browsers running on them. Okay, so what just happened?
You mean besides the obvious getting to know each other?
This below the surface, beyond the obvious.
Yeah, exactly.
What did we just do? And feel free to brainstorm. There are no right or wrong answers. This is a dialogue. This is a discussion that will be displayed here. Okay, using specific functions of a language to show facts. Okay, so specific functions of a language. So for instance, we can look at it from the grammatical standpoint, right? Past tense. We can also talk about it from the standpoint of habitual actions, present simple, or at least when it comes to ESL. a moment of introspection, and later on sharing some personal experiences and even character traits in front of people we see for the first time. So this is actually a very insightful observation here, because it hints at a layer, that aspect of language acquisition that is not necessarily always that we don't tend to focus on very often. That is the introspective sort of analysis of who we are as persons, also vis-a-vis language learning, so how our identities are shaped by this experience. We discussed some of our hobbies and interests. So talking about hobbies, talking about interests. Anything else? What so this would all of these comments pertain to students. What about the teacher? What happened to the teacher during this activity? They disappeared. The teacher disappeared. Okay, well the teacher kind of moved back to the background, but right, allowing the students to control the conversation and to control the class as such. But what did you benefit at all from this activity as an instructor?
If, let's say, we take a look at using specific functions of a language to show facts, and you can see whether they can use that specific function of language to express the facts or lie about something.
So already with this pretty simple introductory activity, you are starting to surveying your students for proficiency level. And of course, you do have that information, especially for the incoming students, when they take the proficiency test. But this is your way, this is your opportunity to kind of see, to use an icebreaker activity to see what it is that they can do, how they approach different questions, how they approach different problems. What is it that they struggle with? What does they do well? Where do they make mistakes? What else? What else can you learn from your students during the first 10 minutes of class that will have a real effect on how you, hopefully, how you structure your materials and how you build your curriculum?
Characteristic as well?
Well,
probably with the same activity, you can see who talks more, who gives information actually more than what's needed or things like that, and you can actually control the situation with the curriculum, like probably not too much speaking activities if you can see like one of them speak too much at the very first time or things like that.
So you learn about the personalities in your class, which is also pretty insightful. Anything else? Other than Daru? Alessandro, thoughts? That's fine. So one or another, with this very simple activity and by posing this seemingly simple question, but a pretty involved one, we are starting to see that what is happening here is not just an icebreaker. There is a lot more that is going on under the surface. There are things that we are learning about our students as instructors. There are things that we are learning about their language skills, about their aptitude, about their proficiency levels, about their personalities as learners, but also about their identities as human beings. And then possibly also, so that is on the receiving end. However, on the giving end, for like a better word, we are allowing our students the opportunity to take ownership of at least a part of the instruction. So this already hints at autonomous learning, right? We are allowing them to take charge in class, and they're also we give them the chance to start producing right away. And if they're at the beginner level, there are ways to, of course, structure this. We can start with easier icebreakers, but nevertheless, I think these observations could be applied across different levels. and a spectrum of students.
You see, I misunderstood. I thought it was for the first day of elementary people who know nothing.
This could be also for the first day of elementary.
But you mean it is in the target language? I didn't understand that. I thought it was in English.
Oh!
Yeah, I didn't understand that. I thought it was just getting to know each other the first day, you know, with
Of the
people who know
workshop.
nothing. Yeah, so I thought it was in English. But you mean it to be in the target language?
I mean for
I
the
see,
student.
okay, then I could have answered something to me.
Okay, well, if
I didn't understand,
there is a
sorry.
follow-up question though. So we
Okay.
just talked about what happened, and we started talking we already kind of started answering this question. What is the purpose of introduction activities? So with respect of our observations about what just took place in our simulated, in English, icebreaker activity, what do you think are some of the would be some of the rationale behind introductory activities?
I think maybe see the difference with the previous answers.
Yeah.
So the previous question
Yeah.
was posed simply to solicit your observations about the things that were going on, right? So we were talking about how students talk about their experiences, talk about the past, about what they can do, they cannot do. You as an instructor then see how good they are, what they are capable of producing on the spot, how creative they are, and so on and so forth. So let's now try to take these observations and draw some conclusions about introductory activities and what are some of the things that they can help us accomplish, and what we can do with them.
Is it still teacher, instructor, student relation, or for the students only? Or
For everyone involved in the process, everyone who is present in the classroom. If you are engaged in the kind of curriculum that has your students go outside of the classroom, where learning happens out on the streets, then this might be included in it too. In principle, there is no division between instructor and students, or at least there shouldn't be. It's instructor being the facilitator of the process, right? Okay. Every single student participates. Okay, so this is, I think it's more of an observation, but the fact that every single student participates, so engaging students from the very beginning, actively, and also communicatively, because we are allowing them to use the language in a communicative manner right away. Provide the students with an opportunity to immerse into the language right away on day one by shaping their thoughts into sentences. Perfect. And I think this hints at my previous point where these kinds of activities could also be done at the introductory level. Even if your students don't have the ability yet to form complex sentences, they can still string some things together. Create a low anxiety environment, help students to share ideas and experiences. Very good. What about personalizing instruction? So you learn their names, right? But you also, as an instructor, you learn facts about them. You learn how creative they are, which goes back to to the observation section. How creative they are, how good they are, what kind of things they struggle with, what issues they experience. You also give them or allow them to access from day one an amount of immediately available, relevant, comprehensible input. Of course, that will require some scaffolding here and there, but with introductory activities, this is definitely something that is possible. Now, student-centered classroom, we already talked about that, and one thing that is particularly, I think, important for instructors is that these introductory exercises could be used as a way to tweak and adjust your curriculum. Since you are learning about what your students, what their shortcomings are, you're learning about the makeup of the class, you're learning about their own individual personalities, You can also then adjust your learning objectives accordingly, and depending on the activity that you choose to open up your class with, you can learn also other learning styles. So this is all super useful information that will come very handy when building materials and curriculum. Okay, so what we just did was, of course, an event that was meant for classroom, sort of face-to-face interaction. Would it be then possible to use this notion of introductions and to organically extend it into an assignment?
Are you talking about assignment for at home or in class with the?
Both.
Either.
Would this be even something that is desirable to do?
Possible, but with more feedback. What I mean by more feedback is not just introducing yourself short in what you did, but probably longer, or probably they have to make a paragraph first and then try to introduce themselves using that what they have written in a paragraph, to take a look at the function of language that they use, for example.
Okay. So you are talking about scaffolding, you're talking about structuring, which of course starts with comprehensible input, right? So as an instructor, when you're introducing yourself, again, you are not just doing the introduction, you're already providing them with information that they can then use in a way that would allow them to provide these kinds of introductions on their own. Now, where would, you mentioned feedback.
What I mean by feedback is I give you assignments and you give me feedback by doing the assignment in a longer version rather than like what we did, my name is Taboo, I'm from Indonesia and things like that, but you have like exact, what do you call it, category, what do you want to see from the assignment. Yeah.
You being the instructor or you being the student?
Me being the student.
Okay, so as a student, you want to see what is expected from you.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Instead of just introducing yourself in a short time, it's going to be longer, and you can really see how competent is the student in this.
So how would you just provide bullet points of questions to them?
No, I would probably do the same thing. Okay, write two truth and then one lie, and then after that they will have to like make stories. For example, like I jumped out of a plane, and then I have to tell the class that what happened, what did I do, things like that. So you can see that I can use past tense, for example.
Following the template that you have provided them at the beginning of the class when you were introducing yourself.
Yeah.
Or what are your thoughts, Alex?
Well, I was thinking when we're doing this in classroom, then we have communication going on, immediate one in front of each other, and we can engage with each other. When turning this into assignment, you need to, if you want to carry kind of save this communicative effect or emphasis, one can have them upload this on Google Drive, pick up 2 or 3 cards, and then write, for instance, for practicing, like, I don't know, we'll need them to produce a longer narrative, I agree, because they will have more time at home, evidently. But then, I don't know, practicing the conjunction, because, why do you think so? Then they will, so we can address certain topics, can be covered, I don't know, midway through the semester, not just, maybe that will mean that we're moving away from this being just an introductory activity.
But you're thinking about it in terms of a written assignment. I mean, it's still a productive, it's still an expressive medium mode, but it will be written as opposed to oral.
Yeah, I was thinking about this right away, I don't know why.
Any other thoughts?
So I think,
Should we even bother with written or with oral? Like, which one's better?
Oral, typical communicative activities, or when you find a person who likes running like you in the class. So I ran the New York City Marathon, and then so I like running, and so why you like and find another person who like running, or another person who loves sushi or whatever.
Mhm.
So and they talk about these interests of this, so it's a typical activity. So, usually we do in the first weeks of the elementary level.
Right,
So,
in
but
class.
usually we give the input, so find someone who blah blah blah. Here we can start not at the elementary level because it's just.
Well, with this particular activity, you need to be more
Yeah,
advanced.
so but
of course,
with
right?
this activity you can use it as a starting point to create some groups of interest, so you see
Mhm.
how the students go around the class, how they communicate, which kind of students they are, which kind of interest they have. So and with this you can adjust the curriculum, and you can adjust the activities,
Mhm.
the kind of activities and the topics you address.
Mhm. Vinny?
Well, with this specific with the cards, what I probably would do afterwards is have each one give the card to another person, and then have to introduce that person orally.
Okay, so from your comment, I gathered that continuing these introductions into expanding them into an assignment is definitely something that is desirable. We would like for our students to be engaged in a dialogue, in learning about each other, but also for our own purposes to continue to listen to them and continue to diagnose how their language skills are developing, how their language skills are unfolding, even just in the wake of this very first introductory assignment. Of course, if we want to then extend that into a homework project, then written is sort of the most intuitive default mode to go into. But it would be, I think it would be nice if we could do it, if there were a way in which we could also do it orally. In other words, if we could continue this kind of oral interaction that's been started in class and carried beyond classroom while retaining the capacity for our students to interact with each other. Of course, either simultaneously or asynchronously. And to do that, I wanted to introduce you to Flipgrid. For some of you, it's not going to be an introduction, it will be a rehash of a workshop that perhaps not a rehash, but a different approach to a platform that we looked at last semester. So if you either go to this website right here, Flipgrid 48D781, or use your mobile devices to scan the QR code.
And I start with
With mobile, with your phone, with your iPad, it's going to be.
I already have Flipgrid.
You like Flipgrid? Okay, perfect. Yeah, because you were here last semester. I think.
No, but it was because I went to a conference and I had this.
They
and I
presented
had-
it too.
Yeah, it's what I love technology. So it's,
I see.
It's a Mac phone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what it was. I was there.
If you're using the link, at some point you might be asked for how to authenticate or to verify, where you will be given a choice to do it between with either Microsoft or Google. Select Google and use your Columbia login and password.
This is the code 48.
48A71, yeah. So you have an app, you just punch in the code. Okay, and by show of hands, let me know if you can see the actual grid.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go there too. Okay, log Google. Okay, I agree to everything. Excellent. Okay, so here's our grid, and this is something that I prepared specifically for this workshop. Now, this platform used to be paid over the summer. Microsoft purchased it. Now it is free for everybody to use forever with all the features. So you can literally go nuts. Now, what I did is precisely that. I prepared a short introduction to this activity where there's a little prompt right there where I'm going to give you guys, the participants, 30 seconds to go ahead and introduce yourselves in a language of your choosing. So Indonesian, Dutch, Italian, one of them. And you can see sort of how this is done by looking at my little introduction here that I just did in Polish a few hours ago. You add those videos by clicking the plus sign, at which point you'll be prompted to a recording screen where you have to just click OK for this to use your So, introduce yourself in 30 seconds or less, including in Italian and language of your choosing, including a word or phrase in a foreign language that relates to the word beach. So as you're recording and as these things are hopefully being produced, you will notice that they're coming up on the screen right here. And the more students you have in class, of course, the more fun it gets because this screen then gets populated. And you have more and more tiles coming up. Now, this is something that your students can also see at home. So depending on what, okay, very nice. So depending on the kind of activity that you want them to do and the kind of prompt that you type up here to guide them, they will follow different directions, and this gives you exactly the space and the opportunity to structure these introductions in a way that is pedagogically sound, that hits all of the points and all the targets that you wanted to reflect. Now, so this is a way for them to sort of record, and there we go, record their introductions, and if you're particularly evil, you can kick it off in class and then go through it at random and play these in front of your students.
You set this up because of the code, so how do you set it up as the instructor and then you have to code?
So as an instructor, very good question, so as an instructor you sign up for this platform, you create an account with Flipgrid, and then essentially it walks you through the steps, which are, there's a wizard that you follow that consists of like 2 or 3 different screens that you have to just click through that present different ways to configure these. And then when you're done, you will be presented with a grid like that.
But the students don't need an account, they just need a code.
They need a code, and then and it's going to be very similar to how we've done this here together, where they will be prompted to log on with their Google accounts or Microsoft accounts, and then in this case it is equivalent between, since we are using Google Framework here at Columbia, they can just use their Columbia accounts and then keep everything sort of at home, and that way you will have their introductions. They will be able to see each other's introductions, and then they will be also able to listen to each other's introductions and also provide feedback. So Daru. Okay, I'm going to cancel this for a second. But you'll notice that one of the things that you can do is you can provide a reply to it.
Yeah.
I used Dada though, that's your language. Dada.
Yeah?
Da.
Oh yeah, Dag, yeah, it's true. I did hear.
So here we can have a recording. So let's record a response to Daru's. So this is our collective response to Daru's video. I think it was pretty good. I didn't understand anything. Alessandro, did you get anything from Indonesian introduction? No. Veni, did you get anything?
From what Daru said?
Mm-hmm.
No, it said Dag.
Da. Da.
Okay, I think it's a good point to pause. So we're just gonna hit pause right here, move over to next. So do like it, snap a selfie. And then here we can, customize it. There are a bunch of stickers that could be A+, put over this time. This is all, sort of cosmetic stuff. And then if we go next, hit complete. There you will notice that there's already a comment beneath them. So this is something that you can use to have your students respond and provide feedback on each other's videos. Of course, this is something that you yourself as an instructor, since you will be on this feed, you can also use that to comment on your students' contributions.
Can I say that this is not that safe if you have like 25 to 30 students? Because it just takes quite a lot of time.
Why wouldn't that be safe?
Because for me personally, I'll check on their video one by one with response.
Well, I mean, if you go through, 25 of them one by one, then it's going to be very time consuming. But you can do it at random. You can,
Unless I really, really give them, okay, for your speaking assignment, please do this, then I will like spare some time to check on their.
Well, yeah, depending on, again, this is a curricular question, depending on how you want to structure this. If you want this as an informative assessment, and if you will preferably probably formative assessment or even summative assessment, then you would go through them one by one. But you can also, do it sort of random. But I would really, given the sort of social media component to this, I would really encourage you to have your students comment on each other's questions and contributions. They don't have to do it orally, of course, because it's all video. And that is probably, and I find it a very convenient, a very organic way to sort of continue and carry a conversation like that from classroom into virtual sphere. There is a way to embed this in Canvas. Cool. So. What I did is I went into the educator dashboard, which is what you will get as a person responsible for the grid. Once you establish an account, you will see that all your grids are kind of listed in a chart like this. Clicking on them expands them into the different topics. Now, when it comes to Flipgrid, this is probably the only confusing thing about this platform is that there is a difference between grids and topics within the grid. One way to think about it is as a directory structure. So you have a sort of group folder, which is the grid, and then you have the little topics beneath it. Our topic here would be introductions. From actions, I will have it show me all the videos. And then you will see that each of these videos could be shared. So let's say that I am, as an instructor, I am interested in sharing my response as not a URL. Well, it could be also shared as a link, which will then take you to Flipgrid. But I'm interested in actually embedding it. So from URL, I switch over to embed, and what I'm going to do is I will go ahead and copy this bit of iframe code right here by pressing the copy button. Okay. And now that this is copied, I'm going to go to Canvas. And CourseWorks 2. Okay. Oh, look, they.
So you put
What's that?
It's Dutch.
Oh, because you were on the class at that point, yeah.
I still have it. So these are the courses that I have I have access to, and I'm authorized to enter. There's a few of them that I have just to mess around with. So what I'm going to do is open up one of them, and whatever the course that you want to apply this to, it will work in a very similar way. So let's say that I want to create an assignment, and it is going to be introductions. And this should all look more or less familiar, because by now I think you are, at least you've had some experience using Canvas and posting things on Canvas. So this is the default graphic text editor that you use to compose text. But to the right of it, you'll notice that there's an HTML editor link. When we click on it, it gives you bare bones code, or a window for bare bones code, which is where we want to paste the little snippet of code that we copied from Grid. Okay, so assignment, and switch to HTML editor. And then now, if we move back to the rich content editor, you will see that the Flipgrid is showing. Now, of course, it's going to be locked because your students will need to use their Google accounts to access it. And I'm just gonna save and publish it. Can I save and publish it? Okay, sure. Website URL. Okay, and once you've saved and published, it will appear in your assignments.
Nice.
Like that.
Cześć.
You will see that the whole grid is available.
This is because it was in your read activity. For example, I didn't have anything in my
You
read
know, you want.
activity because you have to
Exactly, yeah.
start
So you
somewhere.
need to be an instructor.
And then I don't remember, it appears here in your read activity.
Yes.
You take it from here.
Yeah, so this is a really easy way to, if you're the kind of person who likes to keep everything sort of under one roof, this would be a very easy way to do it. And you will see that if, again, depending on what kind of activity you put together, how you structure it, your students should be able to, interface with it, interact with it right from this box, right from Canvas, without having to toggle between the platform, phone apps, so on and so forth.
Just one question. Does the
Yeah.
one who set up the grid receive notifications when these videos are uploaded? So
Yes.
you can track the
Yes.
progress?
So
That's
as you
correct.
are
Okay.
establishing yourself on this platform and building your grids, it will give you a few options regarding how you want your grids to be configured. I'll be happy to go into the details with you in person. One of the things you can do is you can limit the domain, so that only students with the Columbia.edu address can post to the grid, which is taken care of by this kind of authentication that you have to go through. Also, you can decide to be notified whenever somebody posts something. You can moderate it. You can have posts go through you first, so that nothing gets posted unauthorized. You can, I think there is some sort of a profanities filter even that they have. Yeah, it does have a lot of features. A lot of these features were not available last year. They did become available this summer once the whole platform became free.
It's fine. It's great.
All of it.
Also, if I'm not mistaken, if you create Canvas has this notification for the students.
Yes, but these notifications will be, so your students will be notified about your activity in Canvas, right? So essentially, if you create an assignment, such as I just did for introductions, your students will be informed that, hey, Daru created an assignment. However, because this iframe pulls data from outside of Canvas, there's no way for Canvas to track it. So whenever somebody posts on
Sure.
Flipgrid, you will not be notified about it from Canvas. You will get an email from Flipgrid if you choose so. So I mean, it may sound a little bit intimidating. How do I port Flipgrid into Canvas, but it's literally just a matter of copying and pasting code. That's all there is to it.
30 seconds is the longest.
Oh no, you can, well, it used to be 90 seconds, I think, the default, and you could get longer, but again, now that this is free, you can choose you can give your students different amounts of time for different assignments. So I kept it down to 30 seconds, but you can have them talk for 5 minutes if you want. Let me go back here. If you are not aware of these guys right here, we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, and we do have our YouTube channel. The links are right in front of you. Do connect with us if you have a second. And since we are, actually I'm not doing that bad on time, I'm only 7 minutes over. This is all that I have for you for this week, but do come next week on Thursday between 2:30 and 3:30. Hopefully everyone can make it, hopefully we can have more people.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
Very nice. It's nice. This